Hey comic fans, Dave here at Ground Zero. It's Wednesday morning, time for one more weekly look at what's new on the shelves at your favorite local comic book store. Now, if you're one of the many who's been asking, why don't they make comics like they used to? You know, back in the good old days, before deconstructionist and revisionist heroes, back when it was action-packed daring-do and straightforward stories where they threw everything they had at you and challenged you to duck. Well, Mark Waid would like to remind you, he never stopped writing those kinds of stories. So now, we got a couple of big books in this week, brand new, one each from DC and Marvel, and the big new book from DC is Batman Superman World's Finest from Mark Waid and artist Dan Mora. Now, what does this book have in it, you ask? Well, that's what's so great about our relationship. You ask all the right questions, so I'll answer. What does this book have in it? Everything you can possibly imagine is crammed into the pages of this book. I'm talking Poison Ivy, Metallo, Red Kryptonite, the Doom Patrol, the Batcave, the Penguin, just about everything, including Superman Goes Crazy. It's all right here in an action-packed, straightforward story where the characters speak in logos. You think you're impressive just for speaking in emojis? These guys speak in logos, dynamic art. It's got everything you want from superhero books. Folks, this is why we read superhero comics. That's a fact. Well, what else do we have from DC? Well, Nightwing has been really enjoying his crossovers lately, obviously coming off of a couple-issue crossover with Superman, Son of Kal-El. Now he is going to share his book with The Flash, so kudos to Nightwing for being such a sharing kind of hero. Speaking of The Flash, well, his latest issue is a crossover with the War for Earth 3. So if you've been following the War for Earth 3, well, now you have to buy Flash as well. Subtle plot there, DC, but it works very effectively. Speaking of which, Wonder Woman now is also a crossover with Trial of the Amazon. So I think there's a little bit of a trend here. Well, DC is employing their technique and using it very effectively. And that's even going to include Batman Detective Comics, which is continuing the Shadow of the Bat storyline. Now, this isn't exactly a crossover because it's all self-contained within the detective book. But either way, it's a big epic story that DC expects you to read. So there it is. One final book from DC that I will mention, and that is Justice League number 74. This wraps up Brian Michael Bendis' pretty epic run. He's going to top all his loose plot threads here and really give you a pretty satisfying finale. There's one more issue to go for this because that is the big mammoth, Justice League 75. We've all heard the news. This is where DC kills everybody. Not here. This is actually just a good book with a good story. No, it's the next one where DC is going to pull out all the stops and kill a whole bunch of their characters, hoping for a slow news day and all the hype that comes with it. So do you think that Marvel has heard about DC killing off a bunch of their Justice League characters? Well, I think there's a pretty good chance, actually. So new issue Avengers kind of comments on that. Also from Marvel, well, we get X Lives of Wolverine. You know, just last week, we had both an issue of X Deaths of Wolverine and X Lives of Wolverine. Well, this week we just get the X Lives, so you'll have to wait a little for the death. I don't know what that means, but, you know, that's what's happening this week. Also, we get a side story for the Reckoning War. Reckoning War kind of caught me by surprise. I didn't think enough people cared about Fantastic Four, but Reckoning War did really, really well. Everybody seems to be jumping on board with this one. And this is actually by Dan Slott, so you can bet it's going to tie pretty integrally into that storyline. And this is the Trial of the Watcher. So Reckoning War, for those of you who are getting all excited about that. And I would be one of those. And there it is. Last book from Marvel I would talk about is the big book from Marvel that I mentioned at the very start, and that is Carnage. Carnage gets his own series. Carnage obviously is huge and immensely, immensely popular, and this is a pretty big deal for those who like that sort of thing. Obviously not me, but for the rest of you that love Carnage, well, look, he's got his own book. Get only a few indies this week. This wasn't really a huge week for indies, but decent enough. We get the newest issue of Silver Coin, an anthology series that I really like and is actually done very, very well, very solid. We also get the last book you'll ever read. Now, this is by Cullen Bunn, probably not my favorite of Cullen Bunn's books, but actually has sold probably better than most of his others. And newest issue of that is in this week, and I think you can pretty much tell what's going on here. We also get 2 of the 3 Spawn spinoffs. Obviously, the Spawn universe has expanded quite a bit with Gunslinger Spawn and The Scorched, a kind of a Team Spawn, and King Spawn. So 2 of those books. So I guess that brings the grand total to 4 Spawn-related books now. Well, 2 of them are in this week. So if you're a Spawn fan, this week is going to be pretty exciting for you. Finally, a book that is pretty exciting for me. That's What's the Furthest Place from Here. You know, it didn't even come in new last week, and yet I still talked about last week. I really like this book. You know, the absence of Not All Robots and some of the other books that I really have loved. This is kind of my current thing to get me excited about New Comic Book Week. Well, it's here, and if you haven't been banging this one, you're just not listening to me. I don't know what else to do other than mention it every week and tell you how good it is. So, moving on to trades. Well, Doctor Strange died. Don't know what else I need to say about that. Doctor Strange died. I'm sure it'll stay dead for a long time, but either way, the whole story, except for the Doctor Strange death of Doctor Strange's companion, is right here. You have been warned. Okay, we also finally get Batman's Grave in a soft cover. It was out in hardcover for a little while. I liked this. I'm not a huge Batman fan these days, but this was actually quite good, quite tasty. So if you're going to read a Batman story, this is probably going to be the first one I would recommend of the recent stuff. It's by Warren Ellis. Really good. Definitely should give it a try. And there you are. A couple of indies that I will mention. A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance. I didn't order a lot of copies of this. I didn't really give it probably as good a try as I should have. It's Rick Remender? Yeah, it's Rick Remender. And he actually is very committed to this book. It's something he's pretty excited about doing. It sold really well. So apparently people really liked it. Very action-packed. Very much think a Quentin Tarantino movie wrapped up in softcover format. And there you are. Also, a book that has done really well without me really pushing it very much is Radiant Black from Kyle Higgins. This is the second trade of that. This book continues to do exceptionally well. And so those of you who are waiting to get it in trade, well, this is the week you'll want to be all excited about. Moving on to manga. Now, manga has become a really, you can see just how much manga I've got back there, a whole bunch of manga. This was a big week for manga. Manga has become a bigger and bigger part of what we sell here at Ground Zero. Obviously, Kate really loves it, and it's been really keeping us well stocked. Well, this week we got a lot of cool new things, including Island in the Puddle. Now, this apparently is from the creator of Erased, which she says is a pretty big deal, so she's excited about this and says this should be a big deal. Well, the first volume of that is in this week. Now, probably more along for Michael's taste would be Orochi. Orochi? I guess. We'll call it Orochi for now. I don't know really much about this book, except it looks a lot like Junji Ito. Junji Ito obviously is the titan right now in horror manga. And so a lot of people are starting to really kind of copy his style and trying to kind of take that influence to heart. Well, this book definitely does that. It's in a cool hardcover format with a shiny logo. So it looks really keen. Haven't read it, but it looks pretty tasty for those of you who like that sort of thing. Now, speaking of Junji Ito, this is neat. This is exceptionally neat. This is the Uzumaki coloring book. Now, adult coloring books have really been a thing. I initially thought that it was probably a fad that wouldn't last a real long time. No, we still continue to do really well with them. People actually just love to have these books to color and doodle in, what have you. And honestly, is there an artist, certainly a manga artist, but is there probably any artist more suited to this style of work than Junji Ito? All the intricate line work that he does, great for filling in colors with your colored pencils or crayons or ink washes or blood and guts. Whatever you want to fill it in with, it's here. It is just amazing, amazing stuff. So if you like disturbing dark horror and you also like to color, and aren't those two tastes that normally would go great together? Well, there you are. This is the book you have been waiting for. It's the book we've been waiting for. Obviously, I'm kind of excited about this one. This looks like a lot of fun. So either way, it's new on the stands this week. Well, folks, that's actually all I'm going to talk about. This was one of those great weeks for us, in that there's just a little bit of everything. I mean, a new Spider-Man, new Batman, new Flash, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Spawn, Wolverine, all of the greats you come into the local comic shop for. It's all here, and yet it's not such a big shipment as to be overwhelming. A little bit of everything, a little bit of variety, so it's all there. So make a trip to your local comic shop if you can. Well, that's about it. I'm going to leave you as I always leave. You know, this is our 100th one that I have done. So 100 videos for me, that's an awful lot. Going to probably take a little bit of a break here. We'll see where that leads to. Either way, I will leave you with this. It's not about having what you want. I mean this as sincerely as I can. It's not about having what you want. It's about wanting what you have. I sincerely hope you want what you have, people. Guys, be safe, visit your local comic shop, and we love you.